Hello and welcome to my channel where I normally talk personal development, minimalism, but also how I sort of travelled or moved rather from Poland to Sweden, where I've been living now for over 10 years. But in today's video we'll focus on the topic of more sort of efficiency and how people are living nowadays and have been living for the past, I don't know, around over 40 years, I suppose, when the paradigm shift happened, like in the 80s, when efficiency became really the sole focus on working and living in a way, at least in the developed countries, so to speak, civilized ones. Oh, let's stick to developed. That's a more proper phrase. And by the way, I always publish my videos after the first take, so they are very raw, and I will be checking out or reading off my script quite heavily. Just so you know, that's how I roll. Right, without further ado, friends, employers, countrymen, and fellow human beings, lend me your efficiency trackers. Right, we live in a world that is obsessed with doing more, achieving more, and squeezing every last drop of those 24 measly hours we're allotted each day. It's like we've all joined a productivity cult, blindly worshipping at the altar of efficiency. Our high priests, well, time management gurus with motivational refrigerator magnets and enough teeth whitening products to rival a toothpaste commercial. And don't even get me started on to-do lists. These seemingly harmless scraps of paper have morphed into more monstrous scrolls of self-inflicted pressure. Each unchecked box becomes a tiny monument to our perceived failures. Each completed task is just another stepping stone on the never-ending treadmill of getting things done, right? But here's a thought that may leave your efficiency apps in a teasy. What if we're so busy being productive that we've forgotten how to actually live, right? What if in our relentless pursuit of doing we lost sight of the simple joys of just being? I know it sounds very philosophical, but bear with me. It's time to acknowledge the elephant in the room, or rather the overstuffed calendar in our pockets. This obsession with efficiency, my friends, has gone too far. It's time to reclaim our time, the most precious of commodities, as I point out at the end of I think almost every video of mine. Right, reclaim our time, our sanity, and maybe even treat ourselves to a leisurely nap. Right? Let's go for it. Where greed was good and efficiency was God. The 1980s. Shoulder pads were massive. Hair was even bigger, right? And the gospel of efficiency was spreading like wildfire through the corporate landscape. That's when abouts where the paradigm shift occurred, right? Where efficiency really started to become a god. It was a time when Gordon Gekko, do you remember him, declared greed, for lack of a better word, is good. And the pursuit of profit often came at the expense of, pretty much everything else. Suddenly, it wasn't enough to simply do your job. You had to do it faster, better, and with a level of ruthless optimization that would make a robot blush. We were all cogs in a giant, efficiency-obsessed machine, and the pressure to perform was relentless. Now, I'm not saying the efficiency is inherently evil, not at all. After all, there is something to be said for streamlining processes and maximizing output. But when efficiency becomes the be all and end all, when it starts to consume our lives and leave us feeling like burnt out husks of our former selves, well, it's time to take a step back, right? Wouldn't you agree? So, the sweet symphony of doing absolutely nothing. I like that one. I'm trying to incorporate that one on an everyday basis almost, or at least to remind myself of it daily. Allow me to introduce you to a little something the Italians call il dolce far niente, which translates into the sweetness of doing nothing, right? It's extremely difficult to pull it off once you've got used to being extremely efficient and seeing the world as a sort of well, actually every day as a forum for you to attain more and to be effective and efficient and so on. So yeah, it takes really a lot of training to get used to this concept of indulge far niente. No, it's not a pasta dish, by the way, although it should be. It's the art of embracing idleness, of finding joy in the absence of activity. Imagine this: you're lounging on a sun-drenched patio, a gentle breeze whispering through the trees, in your hand holding a refreshing beverage, perhaps a Negroni or a perfectly brewed espresso, and you do absolutely nothing, right? No emails, no deadlines, no nagging to-do lists, just pure I can't pronounce that word. Unadulterated bliss. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I don't know why I couldn't pronounce that word. Now I know what you're thinking. John, this all sounds lovely, but I have responsibilities, deadlines, a never-ending stream of emails that demand immediate attention. And to do that, I say, yes, of course you do. Well, we all do. But that's precisely why embracing il dolce far niente is so important. Not to become mad, Right, unpacking the burden of others' dreams. What do you mean by that? Right, let's talk about expectations, shall we? Those pesky little buggers can really cramp one's style, especially when they come from other people, parents, partners, bosses, and that overtly enthusiastic barista who insists on knowing your life story while making a latte. They all have opinions on how you should live your life. And while some of these expectations might be well intentioned, or will give your mum the benefit of the doubt on that one, the pressure to conform to other people's visions of success can be really suffocating. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, right? The cliche phrase. Except the peg is your soul, right? And the hole is filled with the crushing weight of social expectations, right? Here, or rather societal expectations, or a means to fulfill someone else's ambitions, like your parents, something they didn't accomplish. They try to sort of transfer that on you, right? Maybe becoming a doctor or something along those lines. You are a human being, and you deserve to live a life that brings you joy, even if it means deviating from the well-worn path laid out by others. This is important to remind ourselves of that one, right? Because I'm sort of guilty to giving to others' expectations myself quite heavily, in the past, and now I'm trying to be more more intentional about things I planned and sort of goals I have and so on. The price of running on empty. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room again, right? Or rather, the burnt out husk of a human being huddled in the corner, desperately trying to remember what day it is. Burnout, my friends, is the ugly underbelly of our obsession with efficiency. It's what happens when we push ourselves too hard for too long without giving ourselves the time and space to recharge. And the cost of burnout, well, it's a hefty one. We're talking decreased productivity, ironically, cynicism, emotional exhaustion, and a general sense of meh. that would make urine seem like the life of the party. So what's the antidote to this modern day epidemic? Well, it's not another productivity hack or a 10-step program to optimize your way to happiness. It's about setting boundaries, prioritizing self-care, and remembering that you're not a machine, right? And going back to the other sort of points I made earlier in this video, sort of, right? Il dolce far niente, and so on. Right, now, the Swedish secret of balanced life now. By the way, I live in Sweden, so I sort of learned about it here. But what I mean by that, and I also mentioned that in my previous videos when I was talking about, culture, Swedish culture, and so on. So let's hop on over to Scandinavia for a moment, shall we? Specifically, again, right, Sweden, where they've got, or we've got, I dare say, this whole work-life balance thing down to an art form. That is true. A secret ingredient in our recipe for happiness, lagom. A word that roughly translates into just the right amount. Lagom is all about moderation, about finding the sweet spot between excess and deficiency. It's about working to live and not living to work. It's about enjoying a slice of cake without guilt-tripping yourself into an extra hour on the treadmill. It's about finding contentment in the present moment, rather than constantly striving for more. Now, I realized that uprooting your life and moving to Sweden might be not so feasible, right, for everyone. Although if you're offering, right, perhaps no, not you offering. If someone offered you, right, say I'm free on Tuesdays. But the philosophy of lagom is something we can all incorporate into our lives, regardless of our zip code, right? It's about making conscious choices that prioritize our well-being, about setting boundaries, and about embracing the beauty of enough. And even lagom I had really hard to learn, and I'm still learning that. And I honestly feel and believe how important it is, especially nowadays, the concept of lagom, putting into practice in your life. Highly recommend. Right, shifting gears to ancient Rome, Marcus Aurelius, and the art of serenity now. So finally, let's travel again, as I said, to ancient Rome, where a wise emperor named Marcus Aurelius was dropping some serious wisdom bombs about finding peace in a chaotic world, over 1,000 years ago, or nearly 2,000 years ago. Aurelius was a big fan of Stoicism, a philosophy that emphasized virtue, reason, and living in accordance with nature. Now, I know what you're thinking, John. This is I sometimes call myself John in videos, Philip. This is all starting to sound a bit too much like a self-help seminar for my liking. And to that I say, fair enough. But bear with me, because Stoicism has some surprisingly relevant advice for navigating the modern world. See, the Stoics understood that we can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control our reactions to those events. This is very important. I sort of remind myself this on a regular basis as well. Right, in other words, it's all about finding serenity now. So the next time you're feeling overwhelmed by the relentless pressure to do more, be more, achieve more, remember the words of the great philosopher Epictetus. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond your power or the power of your will. That is very wise. But easier said than done, right? But again, baby steps, you know. And on that note, I leave you with this quote, one of my favorite ones, and I sort of mention it on a regular basis. To be content with little is hard, with much impossible. Right, so quite heavily sort of a philosophical video in a way today. So go forth, my friends, and embrace the art of enough. Or don't. I'm not your boss, right? And don't forget about the sweet art of doing nothing. Il dolce far niente, just being in the moment. But if you do choose the path of relentless efficiency, at least send me a strongly worded email about it. All right? Yeah. Right. That's it for today. You've obviously subscribed by now. Cheers for that. Again, just joking, but consider subscribing if you believe that this sort of video is still lacking. I normally don't read so heavily off of my script or my notes, but today it just I went ahead with the video this way. But like it if you did like it, and comment all that shebang. So right, thank you so much for your precious time, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon. Bye.